There are certain battles with an HOA that feel like a storm waiting to break, but sometimes it only takes one arrogant decision to bring the whole system down. That's exactly what happened when the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood, the HOA president everyone called Karen, decided to take aim at the creek that cut through my land. That creek wasn't just a pretty stream running through the valley. It had been flowing for generations, feeding into the wetlands that supported local wildlife and, more importantly, running downstream toward the HOA-managed subdivision. They depended on it to fill their artificial pond, the one they used for irrigation, landscaping, and even their fountains. Everyone in town knew where that water came from, even if Karen liked to pretend the HOA owned every drop of it. From the first time she laid eyes on my property, Karen had called the creek a nuisance. She hated the way families in the neighborhood would come by and take photos near it, or how kids skipped rocks when they walked past my fence. She didn't like that the creek made my land feel wild and free, while everything inside the HOA was rigidly controlled. She had fined me before, for unsightly foliage growing along the creek's banks, even though it wasn't under her jurisdiction. But things escalated when she hatched her boldest scheme yet. Without warning, one morning I woke to find trucks rolling down the gravel road. Dump trucks, filled to the brim with stone. HOA contractors, directed by Karen herself, pulled up along the banks of my creek and began unloading. By the time I got there, they had dumped literal tons of gravel into the flowing water. Her reasoning, she later claimed, was to beautify the area and stabilize the land. In reality, it was a blatant attempt to choke off the creek. She wanted it gone, covered and controlled, so the HOA could push their property lines closer to mine. She thought dumping gravel would bury it forever. But what she didn't understand was how water works. Nature doesn't bend to arrogance. Within days, the gravel shifted downstream, creating massive blockages. Instead of killing off the creek, her stunt caused the water to pool, rise, and redirect. The flow that once trickled reliably into the HOA's pond slowed to a mere drip. Their fountains stopped spraying. Their pristine lawns started browning under the hot sun. And their precious irrigation system sputtered dry. It didn't take long for panic to set in. Homeowners complained as their landscaping wilted. The HOA board scrambled to bring in water trucks, paying thousands to keep their common areas alive. But the problem only got worse. With the creek's flow blocked, water began to back up onto Karen's own property. Her manicured backyard flooded, the grass drowning under stagnant pools. Mosquitoes swarmed, turning her evening parties into itchy disasters. The irony was too perfect. Her own act of sabotage had backfired right on her doorstep. Meanwhile, I documented everything. Photos, videos, receipts, even testimony from neighbors who had seen the dump trucks arrive. It didn't take much to get local environmental authorities involved. What Karen had done wasn't just petty, it was illegal. Interfering with a natural waterway carries heavy consequences, and when investigators showed up, they didn't waste time. They fined the HOA thousands of dollars for environmental damage and ordered them to restore the creek to its original state. Restoration, of course, wasn't cheap. To undo the damage, they had to hire contractors to remove the gravel, dredge the clogged channels, and repair the banks. The price tag ballooned into 6 figures. And who had authorized it all? Karen. The HOA board turned on her instantly, realizing her personal vendetta had drained their budget and left them with furious homeowners demanding answers. For me, it was almost satisfying to watch. 4 years, the HOA had poked and prodded at my land, always looking for new ways to extend their reach. They thought they could bend me like they bent everyone else. But by messing with the creek, they had crossed a line they couldn't control. Water doesn't listen to fines or threats. It follows its own course, and in this case, it carried their arrogance right back at them. The fallout was brutal. Karen was voted out as HOA president in disgrace, her reputation shattered beyond repair. Homeowners who had once whispered support for her iron-fisted leadership now avoided her, blaming her for the thousands they each had to pay in emergency assessments. Lawsuits cropped up from within the HOA itself, neighbors suing the board for negligence. As for me, I came out of it stronger than ever. Not only had the creek been restored, but it was now under state protection thanks to the investigation. That meant the HOA could never touch it again, not legally, not financially, not even with their endless stream of complaints. It was now considered a protected waterway, safeguarded for generations, and permanently outside of their control. I still remember walking down to the creek the day the restoration was finished. The water flowed clear and strong again, sparkling in the sunlight. Birds had already returned, and I could see minnows darting through the shallows. It felt like a victory not just for me, but for the land itself. The HOA had tried to bury it in gravel, but in the end, the creek proved stronger. Karen, on the other hand, couldn't say the same. Her backyard was left scarred from the flooding. Her position of power was gone. And whenever she drove past my property, she refused to look toward the water that had cost her everything. It was the perfect reminder that sometimes the best revenge doesn't come from fighting back directly. Sometimes, you just let nature take its course, and it does the work for you. And as long as that creek keeps flowing, I'll always remember the day Karen tried to kill it, only to choke her own empire dry.